Got a question on one of my recent videos on fear of failure. Duff, can you talk about fear of feeling really dejected, hurt, and upset when something isn't successful? Sometimes that seems like a valid fear. Well, first off, your fears are valid. Your emotions are valid. It's not going to do you any good to invalidate your feelings. That just creates another problem on top of a problem. Some coaches will say things like, fear is false evidence appearing real. And that just invalidates your feelings that are happening. So now you have two problems. So let's acknowledge that your feelings are valid. But then we need a strategy. What can we do when we fail? Because certainly people do sometimes feel hurt, dejected, sad, upset when they don't get what they want. I have two answers for that. First one is to reduce the risk, and the second is to have a strategy for dealing with the emotions and the reality of the situation. Reducing the risk means making it smaller, making it to a small little experiment that you can run quickly without much time investment and get real feedback. So if you can turn, say, a 400-hour project into a 1-hour chunk or a 4-hour chunk. So you do the first 4 hours of something, and if you can get real feedback on that, you can send it out into the world, test it some way. Then you can find out, am I even on the right track? If you have to wait 400 hours before you get feedback, that will be a much bigger disappointment than just investing 1 to 4 hours, right? That greatly reduces the cost of failure. So even if the risk is high, you've only spent a little bit of time. The second thing you can do is learn how to debrief when there is a failure. I have a 4-step process for that. It's got an acronym, AFLI, AFLI. First, you acknowledge the facts. What actually happened here? Then you forgive yourself for making a mistake or not getting what you want. Then you learn from what happened. What can I take away? And fourth, you iterate. You try something again as soon as possible so that you can put that learning into practice and get some new feedback based on that. So AFLI, acknowledge, forgive, learn, iterate. Very effective strategy, especially when you have those small chunks, those tiny experiments, so that you can run lots of them and get better and better, little by little. Again, if you wait until you've completed a massive project before you get feedback and you learn something, you're not going to learn as many times, so you're not going to make as many improvements, and overall that's going to be much more painful emotionally too. Whereas if you get feedback every day, ideally you make some failure at least once a day, maybe 2 or 3 times. That's great. You can make failure into a game when it's small enough and you're always learning from each failure, from each iteration, from each experiment. Those are my recommendations to you. By the way, if you have any questions about productivity for creative people, ask them in the comments below. Maybe I'll make a video and answer your question too. Till next time, stay weird.